a lot further away from my cups than you lot.
But I'll be over here. I'm not going to sit here and just be like... Oh! Maybe I might be, actually.
Hello there, guys. How are we doing?
Good. How are you?
Mate.
Good,
Hi,
good.
Ollie.
For you guys at home, welcome to BiteSize. That was like a little apple for a bite size.
I liked it.
And what I want to know is, if you've got your snack, your apple, your biting of the sizes, is what you're eating. So feel free to chuck that in the YouTube comments. I want to know who you are, where you're repping, where you're watching from. I don't have any snacks. I've come ill prepared.
On jelly.
Can't lie. What are you on there, Andy? That looks a bit weird, that.
On jelly, mate. I've had my tea, which was a casserole night, and I'm moving on to some jelly.
Am I the only one that saved their tea for tonight?
Yeah.
Saved tea for this moment.
Yeah, not a jelly since primary school.
Each snack.
Get on this, man. Get on. What have you got, Karim?
I've got some nuts. That's all I'll say. I've got some nuts.
What kind of nuts?
The almonds. These are the best nuts you can find, guys. So if get yourself some nuts.
What about honey roasted cashew? I mean,
You know what?
Cashew?
You know what? I
You
like
said that
a strong
well.
number two. A strong number two.
straw number 2. We should have a nut fight. Yeah,
Sorry. What flavour was that? Cashew, was it, did you say?
that's what I said. Yeah, cashew.
Where I'm from, they call them cashews, but that might just be the difference in like
Hey,
regions. But
That's like
anyway, I think maybe we should introduce ourselves because we've spoken more about cashews or cachews. than anything else. So if you've ever tuned into an bite size before, you may recognise some of us guys on the team. So my name is Ali, and I normally sort of guide us through and go off on random segues about parrots in Preston or cashew nuts or whatever may take our fancy. So you probably remember me as that weirdo, but I think it's good if we maybe recap who else is on the team, because the squad's back together again. So, Lindsay, hello.
How disappointed would you be if you wanted some superheroes and it was us that turned back up again with our lasagna, our brews?
The Avengers.
Yeah. Hiya! I'm Lindsay. That's about it. And my jacket is cooler on the inside than the outside. That's all I've got to say for now.
Is that like Technicolor on the inside?
Yeah.
Skills.
I know. Every now and then I just like go, and that's it.
Ben, how are you doing, man?
I'm doing all right, mate. Thanks. Fighting off a bit of a cold, but I'm surviving. All this wet weather, man. What happened to May? When was May like the beginning of summer?
Summer doesn't exist in England. I've decided.
Yeah, it's gone around my family. I'm the last one to get it. I'm not very well, but it's fine. We'll survive it.
Andy's just taking a big mouth of jelly, so now's a great time to ask him how he is.
Pretty good, Ali. Thanks. Excited to be here. Nice to have Karim with us, and looking forward to you, Ali, making us laugh for the evening.
So am I, because I'm never sure where we're going or how we get there, but we end up there. So it's a magical mystery tour. Joe.
Hello. Hi.
Great. What's new with you? What's going on, man?
I mean, life's just crazy now, isn't it? I've had to relearn to socialise, and my wife tells me I'm not doing very well. Apologies if my lack of social skills come across this evening. But how would you talk to someone face to face? What's that all about? I'm so out of practice.
Oh, it often makes for good banter, though. To be fair, like you may just be being rude, but we might just pick it up as banter.
Like, if I say anything rude, it's just because I've been desocialised over the last year. So apologies in advance.
That old chestnut. I'll bear that in mind for when I'm getting myself in trouble. It's a great excuse.
I'm pretty sure I hold up in a court of law, so it's all good.
And for those of you that have seen a bite before, you may notice we have a tendency of liking to get some guests on, get some fresh faces. People who don't chat half as much rubbish as we do sometimes, to be honest.
That might not be true.
Well, we'll see. You might fit in well with the squad. We just don't know, mate. You could be spouting some. But anyway, Karim, man, how are you doing? Who are you? Where are you from?
I'm doing great, man. I'm really happy to be here as well. Happy to have all these guys tuning in. But my name is Karim. I'm 24. I live in Manchester, but I'm from Bradford, so shout out West Yorkshire. And I work for Campus Awakening, so I work with students who are in university. We do publications, podcast, film series, all stuff about students finding their identity in God. And so for all you guys out there who are looking to grow up and go to university, it's all about finding your identity, becoming who Jesus called you to be. We do some amazing stuff. And I want to do a big shout out for a little publication that we produce called The Campus. And so for all you guys out there who are thinking about going to university next year or maybe sometime in the future, that's one out there for all some amazing stuff in there, different guest contributors, all that kind of stuff. So that's who I am. It's a little bit about me.
No, that's fun.
You've got that plug straight in there, mate. Straight in there.
It's a shameless plug, guys. Go out and find it on our website.
just do it properly. How many volumes are there?
There's actually 3 volumes as well. So the Campus Volume 1, Volume 2, and Volume 3.
Was on that, yeah. I got that. Good.
And each one has a different focus. So if you're going off to uni, grab the first one. If you're at uni, grab the second or third one.
And the third one's for all of those who are launching out, graduating this year, step into all that's next, you know? So really happy for all of those.
Absolutely.
And also, I wrote an article for the first one. So if you want to read my stuff, then get that one.
Sounds like the other two aren't worth reading. I want the one with your contribution in, Karim.
I got my face in it. I got my legs in it as well. So,
wow.
Is that one of our giveaway prizes? Are we getting a signed copy?
We can do, you know.
Signed
there
copy.
We go.
On the other two as well. You know, no one's going to really know, are they? Whether
we just want the signature framed. What did you go to uni then, Karim, man? Did you get a degree? What did you study it in, man?
Yeah. I went to university in Manchester. Shout out UOM, University of Manchester. I did economics. So I got a Bachelor of Science in economics. I might not look like it, but I'm really smart apparently.
Humble as well.
Yes, I did economics, and now I work with students. Just felt like God was calling me into that. Especially they're having some rough times in university, ups and downs, as life is for everybody. And so really felt like Jesus was calling me to just serve him and follow him and trust him and see what happens. And so now I'm here doing some amazing stuff, and I'm with you guys. It brought me here to you guys, so I'm blessed.
Indeed.
Blessings.
Good to have you, mate. It's good to have you, mate. And so tonight, if you're watching here and tonight we're talking about living every day with Jesus, which is a big thing for campus, and what they're about. They're all about young people being strong in their faith, deep roots in Jesus, that when they go off to university that they can shift there, that it's not a case of survive this, it's a case of we're going to thrive here, we're going to change this, we're going to partner with Jesus. So if you've got any questions specifically for Karim, by all means chuck them in the comments, or if you've got anything just about living every day with Jesus, like if there's something you're kind of actually I want to ask this, I want this to be part of the conversation, then chuck that into the mix, stick it in the comments. And equally, the whole way through, if you've got questions, comments, you want to chip in on anything, just throw it in, and we'll do our best to keep reading them and chucking stuff back into the mix so that you guys, your voice is being heard as well as just in the chat. So yeah, there we go.
Great. How about we do a little icebreaker? Are you down for it? That always sounds really weird and Christian, and I don't know where the phrase comes from. Like,
breaks the ice, mate. That's the aim, isn't it? It might be a bit frosty to start off with, but then
Get us all warmed up.
I'll not lie to you, mate. I've been watching a bit of Deadliest Catch on Discovery Plus, and they take sledgehammers to ice. Like, it's not fun, is it? Why would you want to do an icebreaker?
I don't know, mate. Maybe it's British ice. Maybe it's just a little bit more like duck pond ice.
I've got ice in my freezer. You know what I mean? I just pop one out into a drink. But with that's a rabbit hole we don't need to go down. That was just me thinking out loud. If you're offended by like icebreakers, feel free to put that in the comments because it's messing with my mind just as much as yours. But I wanted to know a bit of a weird question, so might help us get to know each other a bit more. Do any of you guys have any favourite smells? What would your favourite smell be?
I'm straight away Subway. If you ever walk past a Subway, that is the best smell. That's like fresh bread, whatever type of fake ham and like fake meatballs they're cooking in there. That is the best smell.
All right, I'm going to see your Subway and say toast. Freshly baked toast.
That was so boring. I expected more, man. I expected more.
Well, I'll circle around this, but I think it's a similar vibe because you're saying fresh bread. I think toast, just like fresh butter on it. Yeah, that smell. If you smell that, I mean, the other one is bacon, isn't it?
Guys, I'm going to have to jump in here and say a barbecue.
Ooh.
So you can take your bread and put some burgers on it and some onions and the whole deal. So I think I'm having a barbecue tomorrow as well. So maybe that's why it's on my mind.
Are we all invited? I hope so.
Fortunately, it's not my party, but if it was, you'd be there.
My favourite smell, I experienced it tonight actually, is chips, hot, fresh, get the salt on, the vinegar goes on, that smell then hits your nostrils and you're like, yes,
Good smell.
where I want to be, eating chips, lots of salt and vinegar. That
Lindsay,
Yeah.
what's your favourite smell?
See, mine's weird. I really like the smell when it's just started to rain, when it's not been raining for a while.
Good smell.
Know what you mean?
Good
I like
smell,
how-
isn't it?
We all went for like food, and you went for something like really creative and beautiful. We were just like meat and bread.
Yeah, and then on the flip side, I also like the smell of things burning, so I don't know what that says. Not food burning.
Might be good then.
Not food, like if someone's burning wood or something like that, I'm like, that smells delicious. But yeah, something about that, like you open the door and it's that, I must sound so weird, but I open my door, I'm like, oh, that smells amazing. Like with the rain.
It's similar to freshly mown grass, though, isn't it?
Oh, I live for the fresh grass.
Just out there like, sniffing the lawn.
Yeah, just like that.
I also love, you know, that book's like brand new, yeah, and you open a book. I sometimes just like open it and just like put my face in it for a little while. Just
You know, I do like the smell of new books, but I like the smell of old books better. But then I get really worried because once I did that and I took in a big sniff and then there was like a grub on the book. And I was like,
You know how many people have sniffed that book? You cannot be doing that.
It's like COVID
It's
safe.
these coronavirus times anyway.
I didn't know book sniffing was a thing.
Oh, yeah.
It's an art form. I've mastered it.
But I like the fresh cut grass smell. That's one of mine. But I'm not allowed to cut my grass at the moment, apparently, because Lindsay said I shouldn't mow my grass in May.
Hashtag no more May.
So I don't really know why, but I've listened to Lindsay and I've not cut
Thank
my grass.
you.
And it's overgrowing quite significantly. And you know, I'm not happy with the performance, but I respect Lindsay's opinion and I've gone with it. So
I cut mine last week, but
but
I did feel a bit guilty though because your words were in my mind.
Good.
But so was the lengthening grass. So we cut it.
I'm like a proper freak now, though. I'm like walking around. I'm like, oh, look at that pretty grass. Oh, look at that pretty grass. Oh, that's a different grass. I've never seen that grass before. I didn't know there's so many varieties.
Apparently, there's a lot of varieties of grass. Like,
It is. But now, right, so we're having to talk about brews and what nuts and the weather, and now we're talking about grass. This is like proper old school conversation going on here.
This is youth work at its finest, right?
Karim, you're the young
Conversation.
like drag us back down towards young people.
Yeah, I'm gonna ears down, don't worry about it.
All right, I'm going to throw one in the mix just for poops and giggles. But if you're a dictator of a small island or a small island nation, what crazy dictator stuff would you do?
100% ice cream every day, every meal, every day.
I think I'm just going back to barbecue straight away. Daily barbecues.
It relates to food. It's not like I think everyone should wake up to, I don't know, something kind of with a ridiculously heavy beat. That should
it'd have to be if you're making people wake up, it's got to be the Friends song where it's like morning's here, the morning's here. That one.
That one, yeah. Yeah, okay. Yeah, I'd go with that. Yeah, well, you could throw that one in the mix.
I
also make everyone get like a swimming pool or jacuzzi because that's what I've always wanted in my house. A jacuzzi. Since I was like a kid, everyone gets a jacuzzi and no one has to go to school. No one has to do anything like that. We do school from the jacuzzi. I've been ruled by everybody then.
Yeah, but if you're on an island, you've already got the water. Why do you need extra water when you're on an island?
You never have too much water, Lindsay. Come on now. It's a jacuzzi. It's a jacuzzi.
It's a failed state, Karim. No education. You're not thinking long term, mate. It's all short term. The country's going to fall to pieces in like no time.
What kind of term that is, man?
Infrastructure. You need to get some good infrastructure in place. Your children, educate them so they can move on and go somewhere with their lives.
Hey, go to school, guys. School is a good thing. School is a good thing. It's just better done from a jacuzzi. Is all I'm saying.
I mean, that's inappropriate, Karim. Can't have teachers in jacuzzis. It's not. It's not right.
So way forward. All right then. We'll move it on. We've done a lot of food, but I'm going to keep it there. If you go to pick a mix, and where some of us may not, we may not have ventured in a supermarket for a while, but if you go to the pick and mix counter at a supermarket, cinema, if you're old enough to remember it, Woolworths.
Oh, yes.
What is your go-to sweet of choice?
Barbecue, definitely.
What was that, Andy?
I said barbecue, but I was joking. I'll kick off though. I love cola bottles, whether it's like the standard ones or the pink and the blue ones, like as long as it's just covered in sugar and makes you go.
Is this the fizzy one? Yeah, the fizzy one.
Yeah, fizzy. Yeah, love them. Love them.
If I'm flush with cash, I want one of those snakes, those really long snakes.
Oh,
but they weigh so much. At a pick and mix, you've got to save up for weeks. But 2 or 3 of them, beasts. Yeah.
Those snakes used to make they were my world. That's like the most exciting thing in my life at that point.
Now, when you're younger, they're almost the same height as you, aren't they? It's the best thing.
They're all the same height as me, so.
And they're the kind of thing that you kind of need. You need to swap hands with them halfway through carrying them. They're that heavy, aren't they?
Where is the skill?
No pain, no gain, though. You get the biceps working.
Yeah. Do you know what I used to like? There's like a sensible answer, and then there's like the naughty schoolboy answer. So I used to like the strawberry Haribo things, like the red strawberry ones.
There's literally no one ever. That is the grim choice.
Oh, cheers, Lindsay. Way to build me up.
I'm with you, Ali. They're good, mate.
Thanks, Andy. I'm glad you've got my support. I'm just getting trolled from Lindsay. But, anyway, I used to like them little dolly beads you could get that were on the string because you used to be able to bite them in half and ping them at the back of people's heads in lessons.
We used to sell them back in the day when it was that little business on the side in school.
Yeah.
Sell them, and I remember I used to sell them at extortionate prices. I get like £1, £2 per thing, and the right business going.
You're that kid that got chased out of school for setting up their own business, weren't you?
Nah.
You were kept on the down low.
I got chased out for other reasons.
All right. Maybe we're in venture there right now. So the reason we're talking pick and mix is that our giveaway today.
Oh, we do need a drum roll. That's the worst drum roll ever.
Is a big box of pick and mix, and just to so that you guys get a real glimpse as to what that means. Let me just show you this.
Oh.
I believe that is what's inside it. So we want to thank the Sweet Shop HQ for giving us these today. It's our wonderful giveaway. And they can wing their way to you in the post. If no one wants to win it, that's fine. I'm pretty sure we'll fight it out amongst the 5-6 of us. 5-6 of us. Karim's in it. He's pointing at himself. Karim, if you get the answer right in the comments, mate, sorted. So that's what we're doing today. That's what we're doing. I've just got that running in the background. It just keeps flashing sweets up in the background, which is a bit concerning. On the background on my screen. So the question for today that you might want to know, Andy, have you got the question there, my friend?
Yep, ready, mate. So on the theme of confectionaries, what was named by YouGov as the most popular confectionery item with a score of 85%?
You what? Say that again.
So what was named by YouGov as the most popular confectionery item with a score of 85%?
Oh,
and so
this is based on they did a poll around positive reactions to that confectionery, and that's how it gets to 85% score.
As in people going, ooh.
Yeah, people going, oh, I like that. So that's how it comes out on top. So stick your answers. Where do we stick the answers, folks?
Comments.
Can you just help? I'm a bit thick. Define confectionery. Is that just like fizzy cola bottles, or does it include other stuff? I don't know, like chocolate or something like that.
Confectionery. If you consider the supermarket and you get to that aisle, it says confectionery above it, and you go down, it'll have sweets and chocolate and other stuff. No, I think that's basically it.
Nuts, will they be on there?
There might be a few. No, I think that's probably more in the snack aisle, isn't it?
But what if it's covered in sugar?
If it's covered in sugar, it's masquerading as a savoury snack, but is in fact a sweet snack. So, shock horror. We've outed them completely. So yeah, so go there. If you want to follow them, go to the Sweet Shop HQ on Instagram. Have a look. Order away. I have to confess, I've spent far too much time on their website in the preparation for this, so I am probably going to end up ordering more sweets than I need to. But there you go. Sorry about that. I'm just quite excited by the thought of sweets. It happens. So, my apologies. So there you go. Guys.
You're right.
Lindsay's read what's going on.
Lindsay, what are you doing?
No, the warnings come up.
I love that you flinched. You prepared yourself for that, mate.
Well, you started waffling. I'm like, why is he waffling again? And then I was like, oh, no.
Well, it's the waffle happens when I can't remember what's going on and I've not scrolled through to it and then realise I need to do the alert thing.
This thing came up saying you're sharing a sound and I was like, no.
What does that noise mean, Lindsay? What does it mean?
It's game time!
Good time.
I'm really excited about this one, actually. Mainly because there was sabotage again.
Yes.
Always sabotage people.
Do you care to explain the sabotage, Ben? Or do you want me to do it?
Sabotage. Oh, you explain the sabotage, mate. You're convinced that it happened. So I just blame it on Royal Mail. Love Royal Mail.
I have proof.
Service, but they seem to have a vendetta against Ali, is all I'm going to say.
So at the previous abides, you may remember the games that we did. My gingerbread house that I had to build under ridiculous conditions was already broken when I got it. My roof had fallen out. It was not connected. My icing, no one told me I had to warm it up. You know what I mean? I was losing from the get-go. So anyway, I thought I'll give it the benefit of doubt this time. I'm sure it won't be the same. They'd never set me up to fail. And the state that my package came in, you know, when it comes in one of those little like plastic bags that basically says, "Yeah, we've broken it for you. I hope it's still all right." I got
paid them extra for that as well. You know that.
The guy at the counter looks at me and goes, "Whoever wrapped this did a really bad job. It's shocking. No wonder it's broken." I was like, "Oh, great."
To be fair, everyone's arrived in the same. Everyone else just went the same way. I didn't deliberately like.
Well, mine was. I had a very funny look from the postman because it was broken and battered, and he looked in, and all that was in there was the contents needed for this game, and he just gave me that. What's this about?
There's a knowing look that postal workers give you when they've had a good look at what's inside the package they delivered to you.
Anyway, because of your sabotage, Ali had to do his attempt at the game on a separate day. So what we are about to see is us playing our ping pong game challenge. But to start off with, Ali is having to time us all, and then he plays his bit afterwards. And that is the only time we find out who has won or lost. And this time, because Andy got a little bit.
Oh, he got a little upset last time, didn't he? He didn't like the process of being voted.
I was bullied, Karim. I was stitched up and bullied.
I can see Ben. It looks like a bully to me.
But this time it genuinely is whoever loses has to take the forfeit.
That's a good idea.
It also makes a lot more sense, I think, as well, which is kind of weird that we didn't just come to this in the first place. But there you go. Anyway, should we have a little look? Do you want to know what the forfeit is first, or do you want to know what? Should we just get on and watch it? Karim's all over just wanting to watch this, so let's just watch this.
So the gig goes like this. We have 10 cups. We have 12 ping pong balls, and we've got to get a ball in each cup, and it's the fastest person to do that wins. Easy peasy.
3, 2, 1, go. Then you didn't turn your cup. You just your cup. Is that your first one, Lindsay?
This way, boys. Any better?
Oh, Ben, cut down. Look at Andy, he's bossing it.
What is Andy done?
Andy's like on about 200.
Got 2 to go.
Oh, no way, Joe.
Andy, done.
Andy's done.
Done.
Go, done. He's done, Lindsay.
No, do we just go until we've done it?
Well, that's the idea.
Yeah, we timed activity.
Oh yeah, because it's about who loses.
Could be.
Oh, you got balls going everywhere there, Lindsay. You got no chance. Oh, you're good in practice, Ben, but let's be honest, the real thing.
Reality is.
Look at Andy just chilling. Final act of the game. Yes, Lindsay. Ben, still got like 2 to go still.
I've got 4 to go. Maybe we're just discovering that this is not the best method. That's the method maybe works best. Is what we've discovered.
Science, that's what that is. Science. Again, if the balls were standard table tennis balls, size and weight, the bounce would be regular and you'd be able to judge it much more easily as well. But you know.
How many have you got left?
2 still. This is taking forever. Oh, come on! Let's go in.
Hey!
Are you done?
Just eventually, yeah.
A slow hand clap is probably the way you go for that.
Brilliant.
So, Ali, your time to beat is 3 minutes 39.
I look forward to it.
Well, depends if he's after first place. Because if he's after first place, his time to beat is 53 seconds.
52 seconds.
Well, I'm a clever lad. I've got things lined up.
well. Andy's nervous. Andy's really nervous.
Hey!
Well done, Andy. Well done. Pro.
All about the cluster technique.
Yeah, I think the
about
technique of lining them up.
Ben, I got no
really
idea what
got me
you were
down.
doing there, Ben. I got no idea what you were doing there.
You know, my favourite bit of that was the fact that Lindsay went for a sit down after.
I know. I realise it's
Still
watching back
beat you.
now.
I got thoroughly confused.
To be fair, I mean, Ben,
still beat me by a good 2 minutes, really. But there you go.
to be fair, Ben, you went for some like decent length shots. You know what I mean? So hats off to you.
And
I was
I
really
decided
worried.
to go against the cluster method. So.
Yeah. Well, I was worried because you were so good at just the flukes.
Oh yeah,
I was
twice.
like, no, like I am not going to do well. And then I was so glad that you turned out to be rubbish.
Yeah,
You
actually.
don't believe in yourself, Lindsay, because Ben is not that good.
So what happens to whoever loses? That might be, I don't know, you, Ben, potentially.
Potentially, not even potentially, mate. I think we learned. I think we've just revealed that I lost that. So I thought,
I've got a suggestion, actually.
Go on.
You know, if you know your forfeit, if it's a really, really nasty one, should we make it last as long as it took you to fire those balls?
Yeah, let's not. Let's make this as quick as easy as possible. So the game. I thought rather than see if I can kind of rescue it a little bit, I've picked 4. So we played this game. Lindsay got challenged to do this a little while ago, so she knows the pain of this.
Of what?
Basically, I've got 4 mugs with 4 suspicious-looking substances in it. One is just out-and-out lemon juice. One is overly brewed cold tea. One is just neat Ribena. So, I mean, I'm not sleeping tonight if I get that one. And the other one is Frank's Red Hot. So, basically, we play a similar game to what we did the other day, except for the fact that this time, if I get it in the mug, I don't have to drink it. If I miss the mug.
So 4 of 4, is it, Ben?
Yeah, it's 4 out of 4. Should we see if I can move my computer so you can actually see what on earth's going down?
So you aim at it, you miss it, you have to drink it.
Basically, that's the drill.
Okay then.
Not sure I'm happy with this. I think you should
Same
just drink it.
technique, Ben. Nicely spread out.
Yeah, it's still going for the same technique. I like it. It's
I mean, the question is, I know you guys are going to be mean anyway. Do I go for it? Do I have to name the cup I'm aiming at?
Yeah, 100% yes.
Yeah.
We're going to end up having all 4 anyway, so I'm not really
They're really
that
good.
mate.
They're really good
You
life
might want me to
lesson.
drink all 4, Alistair.
I think you've got a really good life lesson there from them, which is don't learn from your mistakes and just do the same thing again.
Yeah, well, I figured I might be able to. I was hoping that the fluke might rub off from before. You also in the pre-roll.
There's only one that I'm bothered about. I only want to see you necking that hot sauce. So that's what.
Got you, mate. Actually, the lemon juice can't be good. So
The lemon juice is only not good if you have milk with it, like because it curdles in your stomach.
Put some milk in it, Ben.
no.
I've got some in my fridge if you want.
yeah. Tell you what, you get your milk, and we'll add it to the.
Anyway, come on, crack on.
All
Let's
right,
do
comments. Oh dear, what should we start with?
That's one ball
No,
gone.
it's not.
You gotta drink
What
that.
am I starting with?
That missed. No way. We get to decide.
You're drinking something.
That was a miss.
I think we should save the hot sauce till last because I think that's going to be the burning.
You might as well neck the first one now, whatever it was, because that was a miss,
The Ribena again.
and it missed.
What are we going for? Ribena.
Yeah.
Hey.
Oh,
As you mean to go, man.
stomach already is going. I don't know that. All right, what are we aiming for next, folks?
Whatever you want to aim for. All I'm just saying is you probably shouldn't have eaten that lasagna, should you?
I'm regretting it.
I just thought,
That tea.
All right,
if I was a dictator on an island, I would make Ben do this.
All day.
all day long.
And this is
Right,
my
Karim, you
favourite
said
smell
cold
as well.
Karim said cold tea. Well, that missed.
That's getting drunk. That's getting drunk.
I feel like it's worse. I'm crouching over the
How
drink.
full is it, Ben?
What?
How full is it on the cup?
It's probably got about a good inch and a bit, so it's about half the mug to a third of the mug. Like I figured I'm not stupid. Like I'm not wasting that much Ribena because I will be sick, really sick. I might be sick anyway.
Still got another mouthful of that to go.
I've got more than a mouthful, mate. You
Stalling, mate. Stalling. Get that drunk.
Yeah, I know there's massive stalling going on. It's not good. Come on.
Oh, I hate tea. Anyway, all right, lemon juice. Oh no, it just gets worse. Oh, I miss.
I ain't trying anymore. Oh man, I can't be watching nobody be sick on camera.
Puke up in the lasagna tray, then you can recook.
if you throw, you got to do it into the mug, and then it's another one for later.
All right. Oh, let's better go in.
I hope you miss, mate. With all due respect.
Well, mate.
No!
Oh! Drink that.
Oh, crud. I hate this stuff. This is horrible.
Good. Be better. That's your lesson from this.
Yeah.
Go on, mate.
Don't be stalling that, Ben. You can do this.
No swapping.
Deep breaths. Deep breaths.
Face your fears.
Oh.
Let's see that face, Ben. Happy place, happy place.
Surf more.
You all right?
Yeah.
Looking a bit funny there, Ben.
What's your favourite smell? Ben's breath after he's had lemon juice, hot sauce, Ribena.
Are you feeling it, Ben?
Yeah.
Cool.
I feel like we've got something to move on to, though. So let's
We've got all night, mate. You
Yeah.
carry on.
You were going to do the reading, weren't you, Ben?
You're doing that, mate.
What else should we make Ben drink? Answer in the comments.
Ben, while you recover, why don't I read a bit of the Bible we're going to have a little bit of a chat about? Should I do that?
Do it.
Yeah, great. Shall we? If you've got a Bible at home, grab that because that'll be useful. Or obviously get your phone out, Bible Gateway or whichever. Other apps, etc. are available, obviously. I'm not on any commission. So we're going to look at John chapter 6. Because remember when we gather, we like to talk about meals Jesus had. And this is a big meal with lots of people. So John chapter 6, I'm just going to read the first little bit.
I hope it's a barbecue.
Well, yeah, I mean, they would have had a barbecue if they'd been more organised, perhaps, as we'll discuss. Let me read to you. It's John chapter 6. Here we go. Sometime after this, Jesus crossed to the far shore of the Sea of Galilee, that is the Sea of Tiberias, and a great crowd of people followed him, because they saw the signs he'd performed, healing all those who were ill. Then Jesus went up on a mountainside and sat down with his disciples. The Jewish Passover festival was near. When Jesus looked up and saw a great crowd coming towards him, he said to Philip, "Where shall we buy bread for these people to eat?" He asked this only to test him, for he already had in mind what he was going to do. Philip answered him, "It would take more than half a year's wages to buy enough bread for each one to even have a bite." Another of his disciples, Andrew, Simon Peter's brothers, spoke up. "Here's a boy with 5 small barley loaves and 2 small fish. But how far will that go among so many?" Jesus said, "Make the people sit down." There was plenty of grass in that place and they sat down. About 5,000 men were there. Then Jesus took the loaves, gave thanks, and distributed them to those who were seated as much as they wanted. He did the same with the fish. When they all had enough to eat, he said to his disciples, "Gather the pieces that are left over, let nothing be wasted." So they gathered them and filled 12 baskets with the pieces of the 5 barley loaves left over by those who had eaten. After people saw the sign Jesus performed, they began to say, "Surely this is the prophet who was to come into the world." Jesus, knowing that they intended to come and make him king by force, withdrew again to a mountain by himself. Right, so it's a big meal.
Really big meal. Does anyone cook for 5,000 people?
Well, it's actually more than 5,000 people, isn't it?
Oh, it is actually. It's 5,000 men. So you're talking probably about 12, 15,000 people, aren't you?
And I'd never really realised that before until I was rereading it again for this. And it was in one of them. Which one is it? It's
Is it Matthew?
Yeah, it's in Matthew, and it happens to say like at the end, not in like, you know, accepting the women and so there's women and children there as well, but this didn't count them. I was like, all this time been like, it's feed of the 5,000. It's not feed of the 5,000. It's even bigger than that. I was like, no way.
I'm pretty sure Jesus fed all of them. I don't think he was I don't think he went, "All right, everyone." He said, "No." I'm pretty sure he was.
5,000 is still quite impressive, even if he didn't.
Impressive.
Well, then when you do the maths, the additional, you're talking like 15 or 20,000. That becomes that's even massive, isn't it? Yeah. Then there's a word.
Just following him though.
I know.
Well, that's even a lot of followers on Instagram, you know. That's quite good.
I thought they're just there in like real life.
In real life, yeah. Nice. There you go. So today we're talking. So the whole aim, and we put this out on social media and stuff. We're talking about feeling, which I'm still feeling that hot sauce. So we're talking about feeding the 5,000, but using it as a tool to talk about living every day with Jesus, which might feel like a stretch. Now, might feel a bit weird, like a little boy with some fish and some bread, and then Jesus doing a miracle. What can we learn from? What are our initial thoughts?
I think then to kick off, and we're thinking about how to live with Jesus in our everyday life. And what I do love about, you know, a lot of these stories, we see Jesus impacting people just in their everyday life. And so we know it was kind of back then, and we, you know, might have to kind of just understand a bit about that culture and everything. But this one's just brilliant because it's just in their everyday life. And for us, it could be as much as imagining your whole school in a like one great big assembly. And it's that kind of, well, it's that times 13, as Lindsay's just done the maths for us. But we can imagine crowds, got maybe a football ground or something like that, you know, and it's that scale of people. And it's just that every day something happened, you know, kind of thing. And so to just even set the scene, I just think it's brilliant that Jesus enters into those people's everyday lives, which is pretty cool.
And I think, I don't know, from that, it's like Jesus was there for everybody. So that's like, it wasn't just the one person that he came for, his little disciples. It was friends and family members, like friends at school, our family members, our cousin, our sister, our best friend, their mum, their dad are getting fed, the neighbours are getting fed. And I think it's nice to know that, you know, even when there's a little boy there and he might have thought, I came with this for me. And Jesus was like, I'm going to do something that's going to impact everybody in your school, everybody in your class. Like, that's how he works. And I think that's quite amazing to see that he's so inclusive of nobody gets left out in this. Like Lindsay was saying, nobody gets left out.
And even better, there's loads of leftover. Like, there's even more than you think. Like, everyone gets everything they need. And even more so, if anyone else wants to come, we've got loads of extras. Come on.
I have a question about that, right? I was reading it again, like it was genuine, honestly. It was like, I've never read this Bible passage before this week when I was picking it up. So my question is, where did these 12 baskets come from? Like, did they just have them like, were they just sitting there empty? Just someone's just randomly carrying an empty basket around? Like, how did they get the baskets?
Maybe the same place as the bread and the fish. Who knows?
Well, I don't know. And then also he was talking about how they need food, but also that they need somewhere to sleep. But we'd have no reference of where they slept. So where do these 20,000 people sleep? I want to know these parts of these mystery bits that we don't hear about.
I'd always love you. Imagine like sleepovers, right? Sleepovers are, I think, are the most fun things to do, right? And if you've ever had, so back in the day, we used to like sleep over at school, and like everyone would be like sleeping in the hall. Imagine if like everyone was just sleeping outside and it was warm and it was nice, and we just had a nice food and we're gonna play some games afterwards. That's how I was imagining it in my head.
That's actually a nice picture, actually.
But it is. I mean, it's a picture that in England it probably would only ever happen once every sort of 10 or 12 years. You get warm enough that you could do that.
I'm not sleeping outside in Manchester. I don't know if you see this, but
yeah.
You know, one of the things I like about this, I think has struck me, is that actually I was thinking about like the lad that had the like loaves and the fish, and that actually he didn't actually do anything that special, did he? He turned up and just like kind of happened to be there. And that God used him in a massive, massive way. And that by him just being like open to being like, yeah, here's my bread and my fish, like this crazy thing happens. I think that was something that struck me, is that actually how often when we're doing stuff with God, is it a case that we just turn up with like open hands and happy to see what happens? Like how different would the story have been? One, if that lad didn't turn up, like, would it be Jesus takes us to the McDonald's drive-through? I don't know. It'd be completely different. Or what would have happened if the lad was like, no, I'm just keeping this fish and bread for myself? So I think that, I was a bit blown away by that. Actually, sometimes what we need to do is just turn up.
That's really powerful, man. And even put that together, what Lindsay said, is that the little boy wasn't even included in being counted. Like, and how many times I remember when I was younger, where I felt like who am I to do anything like special or powerful? Like I don't have, no one listens to me. No one thinks I'm the coolest, the biggest, the strongest, the best. I've not got the most money. I've not got the nicest clothes. I've not got the most followers. Like, let's not talk about my followers because it's a very low number. But how many times do we feel like, I've got a little, that's all I've got. And I think like what's beautiful about this story and so many other stories in the Bible and in my life as well is that God loves to do a lot with whatever little we have. And exactly what you were saying, Ali, you might even feel overlooked, like no one sees me, no one knows who I am or what I'm doing. I'm not famous, I'm not this. But God loves to do something with the people that are not famous and feel like they have a little, just when we show up. I think that's a really powerful, like, amazing thing from this story as well.
It is. Because it's in 4 of the Gospels, isn't it? And in 3 of them, they don't even include or mention the boy at all. It's like literally just the one. And I find that really fascinating. Like he's just not mentioned in it. But then also what struck me about this verse here in John is that Jesus asks the question, who's it to? I wrote it down. He asked this question. Because I thought it was like, a little bit cheeky there, a little bit cheeky. Asks a question about what we're going to do about feeding them then. And it says that he did it to test them. And then the boy, he doesn't sound, I always thought, like when, they make you draw the scene in Sunday school, they make it seem like the boy is like coming forward, like, I have food, like the opposite of Oliver, he's just like giving it. But then it just says that the disciples noticed there was a boy. And like it almost sounds like they're just going, well, there's a boy over there with food. So does that mean when Jesus asked the question, how are we going to feed them? And he already had in mind what he's going to do. He already knew when asking that question that miracle was going to take place and knew that boy would be really significant in that moment. Like how much of it was already in his mind for knowing, and he knew the heart and the spectacular job that boy, who most people would perceive as insignificant, was going to do. And it was just like one of these questions that sort of like started going through my mind with it that I'd never asked before. And I was like,
I kind of like the idea that the boy's not mentioned by sort of in other stories, because I think he's happy not to be mentioned, because he comes with very little. God uses his very little, and he knows it's not ultimately about him. He just brings his packed lunch because his mummy told him to, presumably. I don't know why, but he's got it. And Jesus just does this off the charts thing with it, and he's happy because Jesus gets all the praise and glory. He's like, I'm not, I reckon he's quite happy just to be like, great, Jesus, you've done something, and then to sort of go back into the shadows, as it were. He's not there to claim a name for himself. He's happy to offer what he's got, and like looks on with amazement. Is my feeling about him. I kind of like that idea that he doesn't even seem to be trying to push himself forward either, does he? It's like the disciples notice he's got a packed lunch. All right, and he's like, okay, go on, you have it. You do what you want with it.
Absolutely. And I think if we kind of start to like shuffle that towards like how do we do that on a daily basis, and that kind of everyday Jesus, I guess the reality is what we're saying is like one, it's a choice. We don't have to, like every day we have the choice to go, actually I'm gonna like do this. I'm gonna let Jesus guide this. I'm gonna work with him on this and partner with him. But there's also that fact of actually sometimes it's that case of us going, okay, like I don't feel like I've got a lot here. Like I feel insignificant where I am. I don't feel like I've got the right skill set, the right gifting, like I'm not even got a position that feels like it's got any influence. But it's actually saying like when we put what we've got in God's hands, like something really special happens. And I think and I think it's those things we measure. So much of our world is measured by kind of the positions we have and the skills we have. You know, like my wife's applying for jobs at the moment, and you know, you have to list on these application forms like all the qualifications you've got and all these things that you're good at. But in some ways, like actually, sometimes quite often we don't feel like that. We don't often feel like I'm going to sell myself today. I'm going to do this. Or we feel like we have to fall into the trap where we have to sell ourselves every day and big ourselves up. Whereas in reality, what we can learn from this passage is we can literally say, like, I've got so little here, God, but what I have in my hands, that might be 2 loaves, 2 fish, but like whatever this looks like, it's yours. Do what you want. And I guess if we made that choice to do that, it's about just keeping our ear to him to hear that prompting where he goes, actually, this is the reason you're here, is to do that, or to be that person for that person, or to say this thing at the right time, or to challenge this, or to say that, because you're the person I've ordained for this moment. And I think there's sometimes sometimes we can get kind of that inferiority complex can take over, can't it? That we go, oh no, I can't say this. But reality is that like when we actually say, God, no, this is what I've got, use it, he'll take it and run with that. And you may even feed 20,000 odd people. Like, you know, it's that, I think it is those things, isn't it? Like if you think about how like us sharing the gospel with someone, or praying for someone, or just buying someone a hot chocolate when we feel slightly prompted by God to do that, and that leads to a conversation, we don't know what the outcome of that is, but we possibly are still just a small cog in a much bigger situation that's God got his hand on.
I was struck by reading it this time. Whenever anyone reads it, I mean, this is a story that you get told time and time and time again, isn't it? It's like it's the story you get in your storybooks as a kid and things like that. And it is always around this bit with the boy. And for the first time, I was looking at the relationship between Jesus and the disciples in this particular passage as well, because I mentioned before we went live, I've had a really rotten week, and some part of that has been exploring and just getting really frustrated with like just inequalities and finding that really hard on how that kind of works with my faith. And I actually did write down, I just wrote my bold statement when I was reading this. I wrote, women and children are insignificant and the disciples are fools. That's what I'm getting from this, because it's just like they're not written in, nobody cares about them, yet one of them, who's a child, has done something incredible, like absolutely incredible, and the disciples are idiots because they've not written them into these passages. And yet again, Jesus asks them a question and they fail. And in my little internal rant, I was like, but that is incredible. Yet again, the disciples fail. It's like this. I love the disciples because I love just how human they are, and the way in which Jesus handles their errors, I think, is massive on that learning. I think for me, for like that, if we're going back to everyday faith, because he doesn't really rebuke them. He just leads by example. He's almost like that signpost of it, like, I've given you a chance, right? Well, I'm not going to go put you in the naughty corner or make you feel ashamed that you got it wrong or anything like that. And I think there's so much shaming around, and to the fact that Jesus is an example of someone who doesn't shame and actually can guide you through, if whatever it is that you're trying to navigate. I don't know, there was something about their relationship, Jesus and the disciples. I mean, the boy is obviously epic, but there was just something about that dynamic and that relationship that we sort of see a glimpse of again here, that struck me this week. And I don't know whether that's just where I am at the moment and that needed to strike me or what, but it was like a fresh perspective, I guess, on it. Kind of like, wow, I've never explored that as a dynamic. Now, I'm not a theologist, I can't even say the word, but I just read it and that's what I got.
And I think carrying on the lines of the disciples, you know, we've got Philip there who looks almost, I guess, he's kind of just operating purely in the natural in his everyday life. His first thought is like, we don't have the money. That's going to cost us half a year's wages. Like, how will we feed all we don't have enough, da, da, da. And it's almost like just that little reminder actually to try and think outside of the natural in our everyday lives, to think, let's turn to Jesus for help in that, for provision in that, and for, you know, whether that's just help at school, whether that's help with our family, whether that's, you know, whether maybe it is finances or for forgiveness and healing, you know what I mean? And all those things, that reminder, actually, Jesus can do like that with 12 baskets we didn't even know where they came from. And he can turn anything into, you know, a miracle. So I guess there's, picking up from kind of Lindsay's thinking about the disciples, the lesson for us to learn, isn't it? The disciples that look to Jesus for that intervention. So I thought that was interesting.
I think what's crazy as well, just as you two were speaking, it's like, yeah, there's one thing with like, we're talking about the kid might have felt a bit inferior or insecure, so that we can feel less than. But really there, the disciples also didn't think Jesus was enough, because when he asked them the question, what are we going to do? They didn't go, Jesus, you are the God who created everything. Do what you need to do. They immediately went to something else. So the disciples themselves got it wrong again because they didn't think Jesus was enough. And I think a massive part about living every day with Jesus is hitting that feeling of, one, I don't feel enough. And sometimes, to be honest, I'm not sure I think Jesus is enough. When I'm in school and I see everyone behaving a certain way, and I feel a little bit insecure, in that moment, I might not feel like Jesus is enough to impact my school, to change people's lives. But I think what's amazing about this story is it's actually okay to feel that way and do something anyway. Like, we don't have to have this like superhuman faith. And every day I wake up and I feel like I'm just such a strong man of God and like a strong woman of God. And I just feel so big and strong now, I'm going to change the world. And my God, every day I wake up and think, my God, I'm such full of faith. It's like, actually, most of the time that miracles happen is when I'm not feeling so great. I don't even know if God's going to come through this time. I don't even know how I feel about Jesus. Are you even that powerful, God? But I'm gonna trust you anyway. And I think that with living every day, it's about being okay to not be so full of faith and just do it anyway. And I think a little bit is about, can I just do a little something today, whether or not I feel like I'm the best or Jesus is the best right now, and see what miracles happen. And then, like you're saying, on the other side of that, the disciples get 12 baskets left over. My little bit of faith, my little mustard seed of faith, resulted in more for me than I would have ever had at the start.
I feel like building on that, it sort of reminds me of the Lord's Prayer. You know, give us today our daily bread. And I think, you know, often most people is, God gives me just enough for today. My cup doesn't always overflow with 12 basketfuls of extra, but He gives me enough for today. And that's, I guess, why the whole point of the Lord's Prayer is, He talks about today because you're supposed to pray every day. And, you know, in a little bit later in John's Gospel, just in the same chapter, Jesus says He's the bread. And so the whole point is somehow we're supposed to sort of feed on Him, take our nourishment from Him, not just physically, but in every sense. And again, I just think God just gives me enough for today. Jesus gives me enough of what I need to trust Him today, even if that's tiny, small faith.
No, that's so funny. Someone asked me today, it was late in the day, they said, how are you doing? And I went, well, I'm still here, so clearly my time's not come. So I guess there's something else I've got to do. And it is that kind of feeling of, I don't know how I just scraped by today, but somehow I did. And it's like you just said there, it's like this, it just gives you that, just some days you get that feeling of, I've just been given just enough to get through this.
And that's quite sorry.
I was going to say, some days you do feel like God's given you lots and you can give out, but sometimes it is you're clinging on. But He gives you get through and you don't know how. But it's praise Jesus. He obviously gave me just enough.
Absolutely, and I think one of the things that we see in culture and society is that we have to look like we have it all together. And I think there's something about this story, but actually just like following God, choosing to be with him every day, is that like the call is to live counterculturally, like is to live a different way. So it is realizing that we're not in a great place, and actually going to go, God, like I need you today. And I think there's definitely something of like, whereas like, let's be honest, like we've probably all had somewhere on social media at some point, but like that kind of the Instagram highlights reel and like that comparison of like, I've got to look like I've got this all together. Reality is like most of the time we're probably just about surviving, and we might feel like we're thriving a bit at the time. And I'm saying this as like 6 adults sat on a Zoom call. And I don't let me speak for you all, but like definitely the feeling I have. But I think that's what it means, is like it's saying like, actually, yeah, like we're to act in a different way, and we're to show up in a different way. And if we're choosing to follow Jesus, it's saying like, even as far as like Lynn talked about shame earlier, it's saying like, actually, we're not going to do that. Like it's not getting drawn into the stuff that the culture says I need to do that to elevate myself. It says actually that when I'm in touch with who God is, like actually he calls me to be in community, to be a lover of people and to love others. And that's the hallmark of who we are if we're followers of Jesus. And therefore, like some of that is about loving ourselves and putting ourselves in a place of going, actually, like God, I'm not in a great place, like I need you today. But some of that saying, actually, I'm going to show up, and however much I don't feel like I've got this together, like I've got to love other people, so that actually we are going to, like together, something amazing might happen. And I think there's something in that as well, that kind of, yeah. And we see the disciples mess up so much, and they don't get that, do they? And then all of a sudden they're like, oh yeah, that's what you're on about. And yeah, it's a fast. Even though I said right at the beginning, this isn't a passage that kind of naturally leads itself to it. There's so much in it, so much good stuff that just points us to how living every day with God. And we've not even talked about praying and reading the Bible and having quiet times. And what I mean is like, we've not gone to that kind of, hey, do this, do that. What I mean is, it's like, it genuinely is like every day. It's just it's a decision that we say, this is who I want to live my life with.
And I think how you perceive other people as well in your relationships. Like, I was thinking then about these disciples, they have set up the early church, and we've talked about how human they are. Well, so are the people that lead our churches now. And I think there seems to be this like thing of, well, as a church leader, or even if you go to church, that when you turn up on a Sunday, you've got to be all together. Like Karim hinted at this, talked about this a bit throughout the evening. Like, you've got to be like this together person. Whereas actually we're human. We make mistakes time and time again. And sometimes our leadership will get angry than they should have done over a particular situation, or maybe the instinct to do something comes from a place that's a little bit more selfish than it is, not from like grounded in God, because we all have those little moments. And it's kind of entering church, understanding that these people are human too, and we're all here exploring God. I think it's a helpful thing to remember, because sometimes it's too easy to put people in church environments as on a pedestal, and then also for us to think that we've got to be like them. And it can be quite crushing when then they let us down, or perceive that they've let us down because they're not behaving as we expected. We kind of forget that they're not superhuman either. We're not superhuman. Nobody's here that superhuman person. But we've got this God who loves us, and he's there kind of, well, I mean, I might be superhuman today with this song, let's face it, but
I'm just loving the sound effect with it at all times. Whenever you move, it's like this kind of rustling.
It's like Christmas again. I actually quite like it.
It smells like Christmas as well. Talking of smell,
smell right there.
I open my wardrobe and I'm like, festive.
Do you keep that in your wardrobe?
Yes.
Brilliant.
You can see her fairy-like coat as well. That's quite a.
No, that doesn't call to me. This called to me. I don't know what that says, but it called to me.
So, Ellis, it's not about tinsel. It's actually about the Bible verse again. But it's just coming to my mind. I'll just read it again. And like Jesus says, like, have the people sit down. And I guess there's a whole load of like different ways we can like read it. And like, I think a good thing about reading the Bible as well, when we go through the Bible, is like, let me take a character that all of us are kind of like, oh, do it from the boy's perspective, and then what about from Jesus' perspective? And then what if I was one of the disciples? And then what if I was one of the people just in the crowd? I think it's good whenever reading a Bible story, like look at all the different perspectives, like little movie characters, and see what each one might be thinking and put ourselves in that position. Well, for all the people that got blessed, right? All they were required to do was sit down. And I think sometimes we can get caught up in this need to like always do something for Jesus. Like I've got to be, you know, if I'm not doing something today, I feel a bit guilty. Like I'm not done enough. I'm on this treadmill every day. And I think it comes a little bit from what we see in the world, in the people that are most popular are always ones like they're the best at football or the best at this. They've got the most skills. They're always doing the most. They're always at the most, with the most parties, at the most, all these kind of different things that's happening. And sometimes like, I feel like part of living with Jesus every day is knowing when to sit down and receive. Like at the end of the day, when all is said and done, like God loves us and he loves you and he loves everyone watching. It's like, that is the most important thing to living with God every day, is that sometimes I can sit down and like Joe was saying, that Jesus is the bread. He says, I'm the bread of life. Like I can sit down and God will give me life. Like when I feel a little bit empty or I feel sad or different things are coming my way. And sometimes like Jesus, like all I can do right now is sit down and like, will you feed me? Like, will you help me? Will you fill me up? And I think that's what, at the end of the day, that's what God wants to do. Like with all of this here, he fed him spiritually and he fed him physically. And like, that was his goal for all of these 15,000 people, is that they will be full. And I feel like that's what sometimes we don't want to miss out every day, that sometimes I could just sit and like receive.
Do you know what that really strikes me? Because I've just spotted something I've never seen before. What Jesus in verse 11, he took the loaves, he gave thanks, and he distributed it to those who were seated much as they wanted. And then he did the same with fish. So he went around every single person and fed everyone. And that's what he wants to do, isn't it? And our strength to do anything comes from him feeding us first. That just really hit me. Like Jesus dished it. He didn't just break it up, he dished it out.
15,000 people. That's how much Jesus cares. Like
everyone. It's amazing, isn't it?
Yeah, that's absolutely fantastic. That like, and I hadn't noticed that either until you brought it up, and that's actually really deep. But I am aware time's getting on, so we're probably going to try and weave everything back in together. But yeah, I think the highlight of what you two just said there about actually they all sat down, one taking that time just to sit and be still, and then Jesus personally like breaking stuff up and feeding. I think it's something we need to take away from this actually, is that actually when probably like even us as a team, like, or the people watching on YouTube, or when was the last time we sat down and just had that time with Jesus? And it's something really intimate, isn't there? If he's giving you some bread, or if you're around at your mate's house and they're dishing up your lasagna before you throw in a ping pong ball into your hot chili sauce, like that's quite like an intimate moment, and it's a place of real relation. So when was the last time we had that moment with Jesus? And like, I think sometimes that's a question we need to ask of ourselves, isn't it? So don't be afraid to have those intimate moments and to take that time. Would be, I think, definitely something I'm taking away from this discussion that we've had. Andy, mate, would you be all right to pray for us?
Yes, love to, mate. Let's pray. Father God, we love you and we worship you, and we thank you that as we reflect today on living every day with you, Jesus, we thank you for this story that's in your word, Lord, and we thank you for that day, which was just another every day for that crowd, Lord. And we thank you that you saw that crowd and you had great compassion on them. And Lord, we confess a little bit like the disciples, we too often think in the natural and maybe just could turn to you a little bit quicker in our lives, God. So we ask, Lord, that you'll help us to think about you, to turn to you. And Lord, as we may just be prone to think about the natural in our everyday life, God, we pray that we can turn to you for provision, for salvation, for forgiveness, for help, for healing. And Lord, we just trust that you will feed us and you will be the food that our soul so desires. And Lord, may we remember that you are the bread of life, and that will never run out. There will always be plentiful. Lord, thinking about those loaves that just remind us of the grace that you have given us, Lord. And even remembering you on the cross, Lord, just gave your absolute all and there is more than enough to supply for us, God. So we pray that you'll help us in our everyday life to turn to you and remember you, the one who can provide for us. In Jesus' name, amen.
Great. So thanks for that, mate. So that kind of concludes tonight, really. Hasn't it gone quickly tonight?
Very quick.
Flies.
Been really good though.
Time flies when you're having fun. It's been quite the giggle. I'll not lie to you. So
I'm trying not to laugh too hard because, you know.
So,
I think you just made that awkward, Ben. Cheers for that, mate. Like, I'm trying not to laugh too hard.
I told you, Ben's the bully here. I'm watching you, Ben.
Yeah, that's how it came across, mate.
Yeah, I've got your back now. Don't worry about it. If you ever need some help,
cheers, man.
you've got my number now. You call me.
Well, I'm glad Karim's been here tonight. I want to thank him for coming down. Maybe we can sub him permanently for you, Ben.
Hey, happily.
But no, seriously, Karim, mate, thanks for coming down tonight. It's been great to have you.
Thank you for having me. It's been really nice to spend some time with you all and just spend some time with Jesus as well, you know?
So yeah, unless there's anyone else wants to chuck in, Ben, I don't know if there's anything else you want to throw in.
When the next BiteSize.
Saving it back to me there, Ben.
Just throwing it back.
Okay, so I think we are going to say goodbye, and I'm sure we will have another BiteSize coming up soon. So I'm sure the details will be all over your socials, so stay tuned.
Has Andy got a question?
I'm just wondering, I don't know if we forgot to say, if people just want to connect or ask more questions about what we've been chatting about, or connect with either Abide or find out maybe what's happening in the area. I don't know, I guess I'm looking, Ben, Lindsay, what might someone do?
You might want to follow This Is Abide on Instagram, or Youthwork State of Mind also on Instagram. So depending if you're a leader or a young person, but you'll be able to find out all sort of stuff there, and equally message us, get in touch. And we like to share good stuff like what these guys at campus are doing, and how you can connect with them, and other guys that are doing fab stuff as well. And just, yeah. So yeah, follow Instagram's the place, essentially is what we're saying. And YouTube, obviously, because we're on YouTube as well.
Obviously.
And I'm guessing, Karim, all your stuff's on socials as well, is it?
Yeah, at campus_UK, and that's for any leaders and people as well. Do you want to know and look a little bit ahead to what's going to happen at university and what you can look forward to, and leaders as well at campus_UK. You might see my face again, so I'm sorry about that, but
great. So we're going to say goodbye now. So we'll do it in a really awkward light. Bye-bye.